All righty, boys and girls, welcome back to the Red, White, Claret, and Blue show with your hosts, Alex and Chris, Championship Condit, your American villain voices. And as always, serving up the lukewarmest of lukewarm opinions, we've gone on our own version of an international break. I can't say that I watched much international soccer because the opening weekend of March Madness is my literal favorite weekend on the sports calendar every single year. Yes, that includes World Cup years, because at no other point are you guaranteed wall to wall, noon to midnight, one sport, don't leave a TV, upsets, passion, gambling, all the stuff. So
fewer upsets this year.
Honestly, this year has kind of sucked, if I'm being honest. Like, outside of the Maryland buzzer beater, which was a buzzer beater for the favorite, I don't think that there's really been much March Madness. There was the 16-16 opening game and then the Xavier comeback, and everything else is kind of like there have been some almost comebacks. No one's really done much. It's been a lot of blowouts. Women's side of the bracket went nearly perfectly chalk in the first round.
Yeah.
So I'm March is not marching for me.
NIL, man. We're getting into a whole different ball of wax that we don't need to, but that I think that's a pretty it's too early to say that's the cause. But I think you can make a case that NIL has changed the game entirely.
Why? Because you think that it's increased the gap between the haves and have-nots?
Correct. Yes, that's exactly what I think. Yes.
But you still have the upsets. You've still got Colorado State pulling that off. You've still got who was it? McNeese beating Clemson.
They did.
They're just not beating them in close games.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And you got the Aura kid who has NIL deals now, student manager going
Amir
to NC
Khan,
State
baby.
allegedly. Yeah.
And all he has to do is carry a boombox.
Yeah. I mean, I could have done that. Let's do it. I've probably got, I can go back to school for a year. I've got 4 years of athletic eligibility. I haven't used any. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, one place that we're not going, Chris, is to Preston on Sunday, 8:30 a.m. away for the KKH Derby, as everybody is calling it in England. Huge match. Let's dive into some sweet FA Cup action against this mid-table championship side. And since it probably won't make the cold open, we'll say we did the research. Can't say that it'll actually come into play on Sunday, because again, this team is sitting 14th in the championship, 10 wins, 17 draws, and 11 losses. But we are the pod of the people. We are here for the American Villarati. And so for those who do not have their ESPN Plus subscriptions to see Preston North End play quite often, we're here for you. So yeah, I guess we'll dive right into it. Shall we?
We'll do our best.
So I think the thing that was most interesting to me was how did they get here? Were they pulling off Premier League upsets? Did they have a cakewalk road? I would say more towards the latter. So they played Charlton first, Charlton Athletic first, who are fourth in League One. They then had to go to penalties to beat Wickham, who are third in League One. And then they did demolish Burnley 3-0. In the most recent round, who obviously are flying high. What are they, third now in the championship? Yep. So that was really their only match of consequence. This isn't a Plymouth who, beat Liverpool on their way here. As I mentioned, 14th, 10th, 17, and 11. Unfortunately, we do have to play them on their own pitch. If it was away, I think we could play the reserves and probably get out here. They are twice as good at home as opposed to away. 7 wins and only 2 losses at home versus only 3 wins and 9 losses on the road. So a little bit more resolute. That being said, not necessarily a great run of form. FA Cup win versus Burnley, their last win in 4. So yeah, I don't know. Style of play, I guess. Do we do it?
You can if you want. Like I think the larger thing here is to me, when I looked at the numbers and the schedule and everything that they've done so far, sort of in a capsule, they are the perfect example of a mid-table championship side. I mean, like everything about them, and I'm not saying that as an insult or otherwise. Just if you look at their stats, they don't score a lot. They underperform their XG. Like everything about them just screams not that good, and that I would say I am tempting fate there because that can go the other way now. But like it's just everything to me looks exactly like you would expect a mid-table championship club to look. It just they have what looks like some nice players in the championship. I can't say I've watched a ton. Because I watch way less of the second tier than I used to. Thank you to my two lovely children who dominate the television when it's on and then yell at me when it's on and not on, Paw Patrol or whatever. But in terms of what they've done so far this year, like they're underperforming their XG in the championship by 9.5 goals. They
That's
they
significant.
Yeah, I mean they score a goal a game, right? Like that in the champ.
Literally a goal a game. I'll just give the numbers right there. 39 goals in
Yeah,
38 matches overall, and even when you look at home matches, 21 goals, 19 matches. So,
yeah.
and they don't shoot a lot either.
No, that
10
was where I
shots
was going next. Yeah.
all 12 shots per game at home.
Yeah. So to me, this sets up for Aston Villa. The question is how is Villa gonna attack this? But in terms of players to look out for, it looks to me like there are two. And you and I kind of talked about one of them in the warm up here before we got going. But Emil Reese is one. He's
Mhm.
their out and out striker, and he's got 10 goals on the year. And then the other is Mulatan Osmajic, but he may not be available. And I couldn't find an update on his injury status. He was out in their last game, but I think he may be ready to go because they were thinking he might be able to play a couple of weeks ago. So I think with the
Interesting.
international break, he may be ready
When
to
I
go.
looked, I saw him listed as doubtful for the match, but
Today?
I
Oh, yeah, okay. All right.
when I was doing research yesterday, I saw him
Yeah.
listed as doubtful.
Okay.
Obviously, they still have, what, 3-4 days
Yeah.
until they need to figure that one out. So who knows?
And he does have the FA Cup charges from the Burnley incident still pending. He had till the 25th to respond. The only thing I can find is that he's denied it. That won't affect his ability to play if he's able to go on the 30th. But he does have that cloud hanging over him. But those two are out of their 38 goals. They're responsible for almost half of them. So those are the two up top that you want to look out for. And honestly, from my perspective, if I'm Aston Villa, you shut down Reese, you win this game. So take him out of the game, stand on him, do whatever you have to do to prevent him from getting an opportunity, and you're going to win this game easily. The only question to me here is what does Unai Emery do against a weaker side, having had 2 weeks off? Does he go with a strong lineup? Does he go with a mix? Does he rotate? How do you play it? And that is, I think, the interesting discussion to me, but we can get to that later. What additional nuggets, if any, do you have, Alex, that you turned up in your research?
From everything that I can tell, this is going to shape up to be exactly the stereotypical game that you would expect it to, with Villa being, high up the Premier League and the Champions League against a championship side, because that's just how Preston play all the time. They always sit back and defend deep. They're only averaging about 47% possession on the year. Once they're pinned back, they do pressure a little bit. They're a little bit aggressive in their own third. and then they attack wide with long balls, maybe a little bit more dominantly down the left-hand side. You're looking at a 5 at the back, 3 in the middle, 2 up top. So certainly utilize the wing backs again, for that width. And all of their top passers in terms of attempted, completed, distance, progressive, long passes, short passes are 4 defenders and their goalie. So I think that kind of says all that they're trying to do, to move the ball down the field. Not necessarily a lot of passing. Look for them to sit back, soak up pressure, and try and hit us quickly, long on the counter. So the only other player that I'll call out is Andrew Hughes, who often plays as the central center back of those 3. Most outfield passes, long passes, progressive distance. So assuming he's starting, he'll obviously start a lot of those attacks when he gets on the ball. Look for him to ping it at distance. And then I just saw that KKH is actually playing on the left-hand side for them a little bit in a left wing back role, which is kind of interesting, considering where he came up with us. But to your point, and to kind of look at the Villa side of this, it is interesting to see what Unai Emery does for 2 reasons, actually. One being that while, yes, we had the international break, it was a fairly intensive one for players who stayed and for players who went. You saw 3 different Villa players getting the start, and an injury scare for Ezri Konsa while playing with England. Obviously, no time off there. And then the team that ultimately stayed obviously had the couple matches against Middle Eastern opposition. So we think about these international breaks as a time to rest and recover, because this team has been looking a bit tired and ragged with all the fighting on different competitions that we've had on different fronts. And it doesn't really seem like this international break would have rested or rejuvenated everybody. So I think we still have the same issues that we had before. That's point one. Point two is that Villa have a huge match coming up against Brighton on Wednesday. So it's not a long turnaround. And if you look at Villa's upcoming schedule, I mean, I'll read the matches here. They're playing every approximately 3 to 4 days from March 30th to April 19th. And that will be Preston in the FA Cup, Brighton, Forest, PSG, Southampton, PSG again, and then Newcastle.
And PSG doesn't play anybody in between those 2 games, by the way.
Correct. They finally got that one moved because the French league actually cares about their teams.
The Premier League really needs to adjust, and that's a whole. We will have that discussion when the time comes. But so yeah, I think you raise a good point there. It's a meat grinder now of a schedule, and the players didn't get, some of the players anyway, didn't get a lot of rest. So the question of, to use an NBA term, load management comes into play now.
Yeah.
Because even away, you expect to win this game, because it's still Aston Villa and a mid-table championship side. So even the fact that they have to travel to an away side, when I was thinking about the lineup, I struggled to come up with what changes or what I would do. So I think it's anybody's guess in terms of what Unai Emery is going to do for the lineup on Sunday. I think any lineup we trot out there is probably good enough to win, frankly. We're to the point now where Villa are not as deep or as good necessarily as the top tier of the Premier League or of the Champions League in terms of first 11, second 11. But our second 11, or the mashup that currently constitutes that based on injuries, is certainly good enough to beat a mid-table championship team away, would be my contention.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think we're gonna learn a lot about. We've got what, 10 matches ish to go, that we know about right? Actually, I've got the schedule up. I could probably just count it. Live counting people: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 matches that we know about. Now, if we go further in the FA Cup, further in the Champions League, obviously there's more, but that's 12 that we know about. And we'll learn a lot, I think, just over the course of the next 7 days, where Unai Emery's priorities lie between achieving Europe through the league or achieving Europe through the FA Cup. I don't think that there is any universe in which Unai Emery plays a rotated squad in the Champions League, even knowing that our chances of getting out of this round and to the final and winning it is slim to none. He understands the importance of that to the fan base. So no chance of a rotated squad in the Champions League. But if we see him go all out in Preston and then play a rotated squad in Brighton, I think we know FA Cup is where he's kind of putting his eggs. If he plays a strong squad in both, I will be surprised. And maybe he really is kind of trying to go for it on both fronts. I think that unfortunately runs the highest risk of us losing all three options through. And if he plays a rotated squad versus Preston, I don't know that means that he's not prioritizing the FA Cup, but he is kind of hedging his bets and willing to risk something there because he thinks that the league is up for grabs.
Well, I think that's a good point. I think that because of the luck of the draw here that Villa drew Preston, we can potentially see at least a somewhat rotated squad and still be considered going for the cup.
Totally. I think that, though, if the FA Cup is his top priority, he's playing a full-strength squad against Preston no matter what.
So what do you think is going to be
somewhat on par with the league or whatever, then I think, to your point, maybe we see a rotated squad because he thinks I probably can get through. But if we don't, I can live with knowing that I didn't play a full-strength squad for it.
Yeah. What do you think is going to be the biggest indication outside of if he just trots out the best starting 11 on Sunday? Like, to me, and I'm kind of giving away my lineup a little bit here. If Ollie Watkins is up top on Sunday, or either as a starter or if he plays more than 60 minutes, then he's going for the cup. That would be my indication from Emery. Because I would think that you would either start Daniel Malen or go to Daniel Malen relatively early because of the game against Brighton a couple days later.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best indication that you got. I mean, you could say maybe benching John McGinn would be one. Morgan Rogers is another ever present that if he's not in the squad, perhaps he's getting a rest, especially knowing that he's coming off of England, not necessarily going for it. Those are probably the only three because, to your point, I think the rest of the squad is pretty fluid. Ezri Konsa actually might be the other one, knowing that he's coming off of a knock in the international break. Does he get a few extra games or not?
Yeah, the injury kind of threw a wrench into things a little bit there too, or injury scare, I guess we'll say, not full on injury, but yeah.
So let's take Emery out of it because I think we've kind of articulated the fact that his lineup is up for grabs. You're in charge. What lineup are you playing for
Oh, I'm
Preston?
so glad you asked. So mine is based on the fact that Konsa took a knock, like you said. So I'm saying that to start. Okay. I'm going Emmy in goal because I stick with Emmy in goal, and I don't have a problem with playing goalkeepers a lot. I am going to go with Cash out wide, Disasi at center back because Konsa, I'm giving him a break. I think Tyrone Mings will be good to go on the left-hand side, and then on the left center back, and then Luka Dean, Tielemans and McGinn in the midfield, Bailey, Asensio, Rashford, and Daniel Malen. So a very rotated squad for the most part. And the reason I did that was because Asensio played in the friendly, and played well, but Morgan Rogers played so much with England and played so effectively with England that I'd still bring him on as a substitute so that he's ready to go. But I would play the other guys at least an hour, maybe longer, before bringing him in. And again, I think that lineup is more than good enough to beat any lineup that Preston throws out. And I think that Malen, especially since he's not in the Champions League side, now is the time to use him and play him a decent amount of minutes.
Yeah, I similarly have a very rotated squad. I still have Emmy in net. I have Garcia as right back because Cash
Thought
is
about
still
that.
my number one.
Thought
And I want, with Cash having had been in and out of the lineup all year, I I save him for the big matches now. So Garcia would be my right back. I also have Disasi at right center back. I actually have Pau at left center back
about
as
it.
as an opportunity to get him some minutes, get his legs under him without him seeing too much pressure the way that Preston play. And knowing that Preston is going to be so far deep, I think his range of passing will be useful for us in that. I have Ian Matson on the left because I want Luca Dean for my bigger, more defensive games coming up. I have Kamara and McGinn in my midfield. I'm giving Yori a rest with all the minutes he's had on his legs. My three, like you, I'm taking Morgan Rogers out. I'm doing Bailey, Asensio, and Rashford, and I could see Ramsey in there as well. But let Rashford run at some legs. Don't really need his defensive work rate. And then I too have Daniel Malen up top. So
Yeah,
very rotated squad, but again, we've got plenty of quality throughout that to see this one out.
absolutely. I mean, that to me, it sort of screams like a Asensio brace or something. He just because he's played so well, and to put him up against this level of competition. Again, not saying that as an insult, because nobody loves the second tier as much as I do. I'm very fond of the championship and below, frankly. But Marco Asensio and Marcus Rashford and Daniel Malen, like, these guys are effective Champions League players, and they should be able to absolutely rip anything that Preston throws at them to shreds.
Totally. Score?
I have 2-0 Villa. I
Okay.
think we actually keep clean sheet.
I have 3-1 Villa because I'm gonna need to see a few more before I start betting on clean sheets.
All right,
Um,
I'll change one thing. Clean sheet master Robin Olsen is in goal.
oh, then 5-0. Easy.
He's the trick. That's it. He's the
Yeah.
key to the clean sheets.
Yeah. Anything else on this one or other
I
Villa news that we should cover?
I don't think so. It's been a pretty quiet break outside of the guys playing. But I want to stress again that this is a real opportunity for Villa to be in a real honest to God cup run. I mean, semifinal, if things go the way we expect them to on Sunday, or the way we want them to on Sunday. And it's been what, 9 years since we've been able to say that. So it's exciting. I can't wait to watch it, and I really hope that Villa jump on it early and put it to bed, because I don't want to be sweating it in the 86th minute, 0-0 or whatever, right? So I want to have an easy Sunday, and I want the team to play well more than anything. And if they're playing well, then it should be an easy day.
Yeah, agreed. I want to be able to enjoy both of these runs one game at a time. Because like you just said, it's been 9 years since our last cup run. But also, like we pointed out in one of our more recent pods, hard to argue that Villa isn't the worst team remaining, bar Preston in both competitions. So not necessarily guaranteed we'll go much further. So let's enjoy the wins. Let's enjoy the build up to the next one. And yeah, I guess moving forward, like I just read out, we've got a lot of games coming up in the next few weeks. We'll try and stay on top of it best we can, but we may miss one here or there. Just stay tuned to your feeds, stay tuned to the socials, and we'll keep you updated. We'll keep the content coming best we can as these games come thick and fast towards the end of the season.
That's right.
Chris, anything else?
Up the Villa.
Up the Villa. Hi, Mom and Dad.